That's quite big.
Now this is the actual Giga Chad of D4 builds. You're literally jumping on top of your enemies, whipping out your cock screaming as you're slicing up the entire screen with a 50-meter big-ass sword. The absolute perfect build for anyone in need to compensate. It doesn't get any better than this, folks. So let's cover everything you need to know to get this build online and how you play it. But first, a big shout out to my man Lord Sora for coming up with this magnificent build. Make sure to drop him a sub if you want the best builds out there. First things first though, who is this build for, excluding overcompensating bald old men? Well, this may not be as strong as some of the Blessed Hammer setups, but it does have some redeeming qualities. For starters, it's fast as hell, making it the perfect speed farmer. Secondly, while not as strong for pushing as those builds, it's still dealing insane damage and should be capable of hitting upwards of 1 trillion once you're fully decked out. And finally, it's fun as hell. So if you're looking for some proper good fun, then this is the build for you. Now let's start with how to get the build online. There are a few interactions you need to be aware of, the first one being the Zenith skill itself. This thing is an ultimate, meaning it has a long-ass cooldown. So that's annoying. Any way to remove it? Yes, we can if we use Sermon of Steel. Using this, we get 4 seconds of lovely, lovely no cooldown spamming. Unfortunately though, once this runs out, we're getting more fucked than your wife in the 90s. But unlike herpes, the cooldown is curable, because by utilizing the Resplendence glyph, our auras now reduces our cooldown by 2 seconds each. So if we manage to get the cooldown of Zenith down to around 6 seconds and use 3 auras, then we'll remove it entirely. And that's fairly easy to do, believe it or not. In fact, this season, it's easier than ever, now that we can force masterworking crits. The next part you need to be aware of is how we scale our damage. If you've seen literally any Paladin build out there, you would know how important armor is. But just to iterate, we have Coat of Arms and Castle. These are uncapped, so you scale as much armor as possible, and suddenly you're hitting for billions. It's that simple. Now there are some more interactions making the build function, so let's head to the planner and check them out. Now most of you don't know how to read, but I've added some complimentary text here just in case. I've also made a starter variant for the dogshit newbies without mythics. Starting us off, we have the skills. As I said earlier, we're using the auras for cooldown reduction. Believe it or not, they actually do things too. Holy Light Aura heals us, Defiance Aura generates a massive armor and resistance buff, along with granting us Unstoppable, and Fanaticism grants attack speed and crit chance. For the other skills, we have Aegis for a taunt and grouping enemies, or Consecration for big dam. And finally, Zenith to, well, deal damage. This is a fantastic skill, dealing great damage, and it also scales with attack speed for even more damage. And of course, Falling Star for some mobility. Now this oath may be new to you, because everyone's playing the same stinky old Judgment builds and Arbiter builds. When you cast Zealot skills, you gain Fervor. You'll gain an icon above your skill bar showing how many stacks you have. For every stack, you gain extra hits, as long as you're critting, that is. When it comes to the gear, you first need to solve your cooldown reduction. Roughly 60% cooldown reduction is enough, excluding Aura cooldown and Zenith cooldown tempers. An easy way to solve it is just to grab a Shaco and masterwork the cooldown reduction. It is playable without any mythics though. You'll find the replacements in the starter variant. Alright, and when it comes to the runes, we go for Igni and Cry here for grouping up enemies and zooming, and for the other rune combo we have Zan and Zek, which seem to be working frequently enough for it to be useful, allowing us to basically reset the cooldown of Zenith instantly. And for chest, Shroud of False Death is just too good. When it comes to the gloves, go for the Revelator's aspect for a bunch of damage, and start stacking up that attack speed, crit chance, and armor along with the aura cooldown tempers. For pantaloons, slap on the indomitable aspect for the armor along with some defense. Here we'll also start tempering on guard for extra armor everywhere we can. The same goes for the sneakers. Defense while focusing on the armor for extra damage, and slap on the unstoppable force aspect for 40% movement speed. When it comes to the weapon, we have this lovely sword, Griswold's Opus. When we deal damage, we stack up crit chance up to 100%. And on top of that, we gain a lucky hit chance to deal even more damage. And on top of that again, the stats on this thing are absolutely cracked. For the offhand, go with Apogeic Fura and focus on masterworking Zenith deals double damage. When it comes to the amulet, you basically just want as many damage passives as possible. Yes, it's expensive, and yes, they're hard to come by. Just do your best, I believe in you. For aspect, Zealot's Covenant is fantastic, and for the rings we go with Jacques Fervor and Virtuous aspect for additional damage. And don't forget to get cooldown reduction everywhere here to get that 60% at least, and Zenith cooldown reduction to get Zenith down to a 6-second cooldown, and perhaps the most important, a vulnerable roll, as this will be your only source of applying vulnerable in this build. Hey, will you look at that gear complete? And just in time, seeing as it's already skill tree a fucking clock, and you know it. The basic skills are for another day. Instead, grab on guard, which remember, you want a lot of ranks in for that extra armor, along with riposte for some extra damage. We then go for our auras. Fanaticism granting us attack speed and crit, Defiance Aura granting us armor and resistances, and Holy Light Aura heals us. After that, we grab Aegis or Consecration. Just remember to grab Enhanced Consecration and Bastion in that case, because we want the damage and crowd control. We also have Falling Star to fly across the map, and some damage passives. Then head on over to grab just a bunch of damage passives. There are some bangers here, and pretty much any of them is fantastic to have on your amulet. In the ultimate tree, we grab some defensive bonuses, along with Zenith, of course, and the reason it's spammable, Sermon of Steel. This also extends the duration even further, as long as we attack fast, which we of course do since we're stacking attack speed. This does, however, remove the knockdown, so you need Aegis to crowd control enemies to gain your dizzying blow bonus, or if you go with Consecration, then you have Bastion. And for the key passive Coat of Arms, as discussed earlier. Good job, friends. Skill tree complete. Let's check out some goodies, and then we'll head off to the Paragons. For our trusty mercenary, there's but one option, and that is Rahir. He protects us with his mighty shield, he grants us armor, and a lovely damage bonus. For the divine gifts, we have Anguish for movement speed, or Screams if you need the defense, Sin for extra armor, Lies for fortify, and Pain for a barrier if we need it. Alright, let's head for the Paragons, shall we? First, we have Resplendence. And as you know, this is insanely important for the build to actually work. After that, we grab Castle, which is our main damage scaler, along with picking up the Feverous Glyph for a hefty damage bonus. In the Relentless board, we find the Spirit Glyph, where we dump our spare nodes due to the high additive scaling. After that, we get Fervent, which grants us 32% crit chance and 120% crit damage. Yeah, that's a lot. Balance class, by the way. We slot in Chip here and head for the final board of the day, which is the Preacher board, and yet another reason as to why we need to cap attack speed. Finally, grab the Outmatch Glyph for some strong non-elite and boss damage, and with that, we're done. Let's get good and have a look at how to actually play the build now, shall we? Yeah, I think we shall. Playing the build is easy peasy. All you need to do is spam the living shit out of your Zenith button. And when it's off cooldown, you use your auras to remove the cooldown and repeat. Other than that, you have your Falling Star for mobility, and you want to use Aegis on enemies as often as possible. Do all of this, and you're going to be an expert on the build and have some actual fun. Alright, that's all for this one. Drop me and Sora a sub, and I'll see you in the next one.